We are starting out with our first course of tile, and the first course is always the most important one to get level and straight. So what we have here is we have first layer, first course of tiles laid out. We have a 4-foot level across the top, and you can see that the line is straight with the level. So here, the center tile of the tub, over the tub rim, is a 1/4 inch up. And then the next tile is a 1/4 inch, and then an 1/8 inch. And then the end tiles are both an 1/8 inch. And so what we are going to do is cut tiles here. The end tiles will be cut a full 1/4 inch off the bottom. The 2 inner tiles from each side will be cut a 1/4 inch on the outside and an 1/8 inch on the inside, and then the center tile will remain a full tile. And so what will happen is this will drop down to 1 spacer up. Right now there's 3 spacers holding it up, and so we trim a 1/4 off of the end tile and kind of a slope 1/4 to an 1/8 off the next tile, and then those tiles will drop down to the tub evenly with this, and then we'll have our first course level on top and ready to go up the wall. And then we will have to trim the first tile over on this side here, and the corner is going to be down a 1/4. But as we come out to the edge, the corner of the tub is a little bit higher, and so this will come back closer to a full height tile on the outside edge because it slopes in. Okay, so that is how we start our first course of tile. And these tiles here, since they already have mud on the back of them, we're just going to use these, not on this course, but on the second course up, because we're doing a subway pattern. So the center line 2 tiles will meet here on the next course, and then this tile will be up there farther. Okay, so let's get some tile action going here. Okay, so we are going to do some 6 times speed here. As you see, we have explained how we are going to cut tiles to get a level line across for the first row. Very important to get the first row level. It sets up everything else. Okay, so Dave, the unknown mechanic, is assisting cutting tiles. I'm marking, he's cutting, or I'm measuring and he's cutting. And so we already have our mortar spread on the wall, and what I'm doing is back buttering the tiles. Not a lot, just enough to coat the back of the tile with mortar, and then there is still a track mark of mortar from the notched trowel on the wall. So we're just getting mortar on the tile and then slapping it against the wall. Then what we're going to do is put shims under the tile. We're going through for 1/8 inch wedge shims, and we find those to be very versatile because you can make minor adjustments with them as you are going with the tile. So there goes the first row. Now I'm going to grab the level and check things here to make sure that we have a nice good level line. And one of the tools I like to use for this is a 3-inch scraping trowel. It has a sharp, thick scraper blade on it, and that is good for getting into the edges of the tile. You see me working it there, and I can lift and shift the tiles as needed. And as I'm doing that, I can put the shims in under the tile to make that adjustment. So what I'm going for here is to get a level line across the tub that is the tops of the tiles are all up flat against the level. And so once I have that, then I have a good base, a good foundation to do all the rest of the tile. You want to get that first course level. And so I think I have it here, and we are going to start spreading mortar on the wall and going up. So I have that those tiles that I just used for the first course, and I'm just going to take those now and put them in the mortar that I'm spreading on the walls now. And then I will take the notched trowel from Dave here and put the notches in it. And then those tiles have been scraped, and they have mortar on the backs of the tiles, so we will just slap them into the fresh mortar and get a good adhesion to the wall. So we're just finishing that up. Now I'm going to grab the tile from Dave here in a second and start putting the next row across. So as you see, we are going for a subway style, where we have the first row, there's a tile in the middle of the wall, and then the next row up we have a grout line in the middle of the wall, and so we will alternate like that. You can see the full tile below and the grout line above on those tiles I'm installing in the second row now. And so Dave is assisting here. I'm measuring and Dave is running and cutting, and then Dave will also run and get other things as I need them. Okay, so we are adjusting the tiles, getting the shims in there and making sure everything is flat. Take your time, don't rush. If your tiles begin to do what's called staircasing, which is they are starting to spread apart and not line up, then you need to stop what you're doing, back up and find where the problem is and correct it, because staircasing, it gets progressively worse as you go. Each time you put another course of tile on, the error is amplified. So you want to make sure that you get everything all set up on the first course. And then if these were smaller tiles, we would kind of be doing this in a diagonal fashion. We would have the bottom row, second, third, fourth, fifth rows going staircased across the wall, and in doing that we can kind of catch a staircase with smaller tiles before it gets out of control. Big tiles, the staircase can still be an issue, but you see it faster because the tiles are larger. Okay, so I'm just going to set that tile on the end of the wall there, and then I'm going to mortar up the wall again and do the next course up. And as you can see, we have a earlier video where we installed the tub, the Durrock, and then roll red guard on the walls. In fact, before the red guard, I also skim coated the entire wall with mortar, and I mortar over all the tape and screws and everything, and that gives us a nice level base over the entire wall surface, getting rid of all the inconsistencies. Those inconsistencies can lead to problems too. And so there, now we are going to do the next course, which is going to have a tile in the middle of the wall again. Getting my mortar up onto the wall. And so on these tiles here, we're just doing one row, one course at a time. And just taking our time, making sure that everything is all plumb and flat and all the lines are matching up properly. And there I'm using the notched trowel. So it's good to have a few damp towels handy so that as you're moving along, you're going to be getting mortar on your hands, and it gets to be a mess after a while. So it's good to have some wet towels in a bucket that you can just reach over and wipe your hands off. And then also a pair of latex rubber gloves can be nice too, because the mortar can be pretty harsh on your skin after a while, because typically this this video is slowed down to 1/6, or actually sped up 6 times, and so this is pretty much a day of work shrunk down into just a few minutes. And so you see we're progressing there. Dave has brought me the end tile, so I'm just gonna, okay, I guess he brought me the end tile for the front end of the tub, and now he's got the tile for the back side, and Dave is gonna put that in place. So I am working the tiles, just kind of shifting, lining them up, and putting the 1/8 inch shims in. And when I'm shimming these things, I like to put a shim about 1 inch in from each edge of the tile on the bottoms, and then put a shim in the top and the bottom on the sides. And then we try to center them in the wall space, and generally we will have a shim or 2 shim space on the sides, and so we will put whatever shimming is required on the side walls to hold the course together tightly. And you make sure that when you do have your gap on the side walls, that your sidewall course of tile will cover that gap. Okay, so right now what we have is a 2 inch space down from the window, and we are going to put a couple of tiles on the window, and what we're going to do is put a 2 inch frame around the window. We could have done it with full tiles, but we decided to do it with small tiles because it would act as a frame for the window, and you wouldn't have odd-sized tiles on either side of the window. So it will have a gap in the center, and then there will be 2 2-inch dots, one on each bottom corner of the window. And then the window itself will get tiled on the sides and the sill. And so there goes the first tile. Here goes the dot for the other tile. And then you'll see one thing that we do here is we make use of masking tape, like green tape or blue tape, but we will position the tiles, put our wedges in there to get everything where we want it, and then we will put some masking tape in there to hold everything together. And masking tape does a pretty good job of keeping things from moving around. So you see me putting a couple of pieces of masking tape in there now, and it just helps to keep things stable. And so you just want to make sure you have your grout lines all matching up. The tiles that we're putting there, we have them cut just a little bit smaller than the side so that the grout line will match up with the side tiles in the window. And there is the other dot, and now I'm going to put in the wedges, get it positioned the way I want it, and then put some green tape on it and hold everything stable. Then we'll cut the I think we'll be cutting the wall edge pieces here in a minute. Or maybe not. Maybe we are. Yeah, see what I did there is I have an odd sized tile that's going next to the 2-inch dot at the bottom. So I took the level and made a plumb line up from the tile in the second course up. You see that small tile on the right. So I took a level and made a plumb line up from that. Now we are cutting, Dave is cutting the tile for that, and you can see how that tile I just put in is in line with the tile below. Okay, so we are shifting position here and doing the front wall. Right now we are fitting the tile around the tub spout and valve control. So that first tile, we had a tile hole saw that we cut a 1.25 inch hole for the tub spout, and then we also cut a hole for the shower control valve, but that hole is on half of the tile, and so the next tile will have the other half of the hole for the control valve. And so you'll see how that looks a little later in the video. And we are continuing the pattern here, the subway style pattern, and you'll see how the tiles line up. We have larger tiles meeting in the corner and the smaller tiles meeting in the corner, so that we have a consistent look in the tub, and it worked out very nicely. And the tub is the tub tile, I think, is 35 inches wide. It's not quite 3 feet, or maybe it is 3 feet, I can't remember. Three tiles wide anyway. And so I'm putting mortar on the wall here, and now I'm using the notched trowel. Okay, no, it's not the notched trowel. I'm still putting mortar on. There's the notched trowel, and we're going to get our 1/4 inch by 3/8 notch in there. And so we have the tile extends about 6 inches beyond the edge of the tub, and you will see how that worked out. We have a floor tile video that we did earlier for the same bathroom. It's the same tile on the floor, so you can see the video for that installation, and you can see the video for the tub installation, which also covers the Durrock, the mortar, the red guard. Okay, so we are doing a little bit of back buttering there. And the reason for that is that there are some inconsistencies in the wall here. There are some warped studs, and so there is a deeper space in the wall, and so we had to kind of fill with mortar behind the tile to get the tile to be flush with the tile next to it. And so that's why we were working this tile a little extra. And then also, because of that, we have the tape on the side to hold it more stable. And we have it shimmed in there too. So now we are measuring for that shower control valve. And we measure up from the tile to from the tile below to the center, and then we draw a line a radiused line out from the center of where that shower control valve is on the tub, and the same for the tub spout below. We find out where the center of that tub spout is positioned on the tile and then drill around that. Okay, so we've got the tile is all cut out. Dave is going to set that one while I'm cleaning up some other stuff. We are running low on shims, so I am pulling shims out from the tile we did earlier in the day. The tile, it's set but not usable after about an hour of time on the wall. All the moisture is drawn out of the mortar. The mortar is still soft, but it's not going to shift, so you can pull out the shims and use those if you do run low on shims. Okay, so we have that other half of the tile around the tub's control valve fixed, and sometimes we have a little extra mortar that splooges out between the grout lines of two tiles, and so once again, keeping that bucket of water with terry cloth hand towels handy comes to the rescue again. We lift the tile up a little bit and we run a wedge or just a fold of the terry cloth between the tiles to clean the mortar out, and that helps out quite a bit to keep the whole job clean and the tiles fitting well. Okay, so there goes that piece. Second course up the wall, and we are actually going to stop here pretty soon. There's a little inconsistency in the wall above here. You can see just above the course, about another tile height up, you see the line. There's a mesh tape line there where that mud just got spread over it, and because of that we are going to just spread the mud on, and then we are going to walk away because it's a deep one and we don't want to work with that, so we're just going to spread the mortar and then let it dry. Okay, we have the back wall is in. Let me step back a little farther here. So the back wall is in. We're working on the front wall. We have the cutouts for the tub spout and the faucet shower control valve, and the shower head is up above the tile layer, and then we still have to tile the window ledge sill and the sides, but yeah, it's looking pretty darn good. This takes a load of pressure off Dave. So anyway, we're just kind of skim coating the wall here where we know there's going to be a little depression which will affect our next course of tile. So we have just filled it in, and we're good to go. And you can see the tiles match up nicely in the corners. So that is very nice. We have the same effect going here, and it will continue on up. So yeah, it's looking pretty darn good. Dave got these tiles at Home Depot. They are $1 a piece, but we've had quite a few of them just crack on us. So hopefully with the Durrock and the mortar behind them, they'll be pretty stable. And there you go. Finished doing the bathtub tile installation. So that turned out real nice. Here's the tile around the windows. So that gets grouted, everything will clean up nicely, and then these edges are going to get some enamel paint on them that will make them blend in nicely. There's the sink.